Hi, it's Brittany. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making the portable console case by Fierce Kitten Studio. I love this pattern. So it can hold a switch light or a switch. I grabbed my son's switch light and it's got a bulky case on it. So he has one of these cases and he'll carry the switch light with the charger in it. But it's padded with foam to protect the console, and it has a double magnetic snap closure. On the back, there is a compartment. I guess I used black on black, but there's elastic and it's little slots for the cartridges. The only thing I change in the pattern is how I do the like hidden zipper pocket. I just change like tiny little technique things. I also add this strap. It's optional, you don't have to do it. Yeah, I love this pattern. It's simple, but it's got enough to it that when you finish it, you like feel really good about yourself, because this pocket can be a little hard to do. But really it's pretty basic. You could play around with your materials. If your machine won't go through everything, you can get that foam out of your seam allowance at the top. I think it's completely doable on any machine. Thank you to Georgia for letting me do a tutorial on this. This fabric is from Retro Stitch Fabrics and it is on pre-order for the month of February. It's pretty awesome. I also got this super cool Gengar zipper pull from Alchemat's Hardware. So anyways, let me know if you've made one of these. I don't know if the new switch would fit in it because it is bigger, but you could change the pattern size. You could scale it up or like add some height or width. That would be really easy to do with this pattern. Anyways, please subscribe, like, and comment. Let me know what your favorite game is. Enjoy. Have a great day. Okay, so the cutting portion of the portable console case by Fierce Kitten Studios is pretty easy. You have a front piece on the inside, and then you also cut your lining and your foam with that. And then the back is two pieces that you're only going to cut the exterior with. You have a pocket lining piece and then your flap. I also add a D-ring connector and a little wristlet strap. I just think it's nice to have something to carry it with. So I picked out some zipper tape. I still need to grab a zipper pull. I've got my nameplate, 2 magnets, and then since I add the wristlet, I have 1/2 inch D-ring and snap hook, and then I picked out a woven label to add to it. So you're gonna need your exterior. I'm using a cotton woven. Waterproof canvas is what I like to line it with. I picked a vinyl for my wristlet strap. I'll need my woven interfacing. I like to use a piece of Decaville Light on the flap. And then you'll need foam for the lining. I'm going to go ahead and get the foam out of the way first, because it's literally in my way. So the piece that you use the foam with is piece B, your main body piece. And what I like to do is I just trace these corners and then I cut the rest with my rotary cutter. And then I'll just use scissors to cut the squares. I've done it before too, where I don't even cut these out and then I just cut them afterwards, but I guess it is better to get it cut out in the first place. So you need 2 of these. And then we're done with the foam. I'll go ahead and put that away. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and cut my deck of a light and get that out of the way too. Oh geez. This is the first time I've had a giant roll of this, and it is trying to unroll on me. Alright, so you need the flap piece, and I like to trace the curves since they're hard to cut with the rotary cutter. You could cut this out of the seam allowance if you feel like it's necessary for you to do so. You would just cut it down, depending on your machine and the materials you're using. So that's all the deck of a light we need. Next I'm going to cut my waterproof canvas lining pieces. Okay. I am going to trace the corners again, which hopefully I can see. Yeah. Barely, but it's there. Also, I'm trying this angle for cutting, so that my head isn't in the way, but if it's not good, just let me know. I'll see what else I can try. I feel like doing YouTube videos is a never-ending, like, trial of things. Like, just constantly trying to see what works best. Which there's nothing wrong with that. It's entertaining. But I definitely want to try to do whatever works best for everyone. Alright, so that's all the waterproof canvas we need. Okay, for my vinyl, I like doing 14 inches, so I'm just going to cut 14 by 2. And then for my strap connector, I'm going to cut 2 by 1 because that'll just get folded into itself instead of like being a double fold. You could use woven if you wanted to. You just need to iron it and whatnot. All right. The fun print part. So if your fabric is directional, you want to make sure that you have it right side up. This one's questionable, but I think I've got it. Okay, so we're going to need our flap, exterior piece, our 2 back pieces, and then what I usually like to do is I like to make the inside of my flap the same as the inside of my pocket. And I guess I didn't pull anything for that, but I think I'm gonna go, this is kind of like my go-to sometimes. So I'll be doing 1 flap and then the 2 pocket pieces with that. Okay. So again, I'm going to trace the curve on the flap. And cut the curve by hand. Okay, so that's our front flap. I'll set this aside for the lining. See, now on this piece, it looks like most of them are upside down. So I'm going to flip this around so that they'll be right side up. Also, I'm going to switch my rotary cutter. That one probably needs a new blade. I also use it more for different materials. I'm still struggling. These are pretty quick to cut in batches too. I've made a lot of them. Back when I was still doing custom orders, I used to sell a lot of these. Okay, I'm going to flip this also. Hopefully my front flap, it's fine. Okay, and I like to make sure these 2 pieces are close together because your zipper is going to be right here. So even though these pieces get folded in, I still like them to match as much as possible for once you have it together with the zipper. that's everything with the main print. You could cut every single piece out in your main print, even those lining pieces. That is up to you. Like, you don't have to use waterproof canvas. I just line pretty much everything in it. So, it's worked so far. Alright. So now I'm going to cut my pocket lining pieces and my inside of my front flap. You can trace the curves on this also if you want. It is black, so I don't think that's going to help me. What I can actually do is this piece is going to get the deck of a light. So I can just trim after I fuse it. That'll be fine. Okay. So now we just need 2 of the pocket lining pieces. Oh, perfect. So I'll just fold this over and cut them both out at the same time. Alright, as far as the woven interfacing goes, one of these pocket pieces we are not going to interface. But the other one we will. Our inside flap, I'm going to put the deck of a light on it. And I'm going to put the deck of a light on it because the magnetic snaps are going to be on this piece. So it's just like a little bit of extra interfacing. The foam is just going to get sewn with the lining pieces the way I do it. There's no need to fuse that. So I'm going to keep them in my bin. Alright. And then I'll put this one into the bin. We do need to interface the rest of our pieces with woven interfacing. See what I can get out of this scrap. This one is cutting it close, but I think it'll be fine. It's just the lining of the pocket. So that goes to that. And then here is our flap with the lining. 3 pieces left. Alright, I'm gonna set my flap template to the side because it has markings on it we need. Done with the lining piece. Alright. The top of our back pocket, or back exterior, done with that piece. The bottom of the back exterior, and sometimes I don't, well, usually when I'm cutting interfacing, I won't cut the squares out. I'll just kind of do one of these numbers, and I'll cut it after I fuse it. It saves me time, I think. Not sure, but I think. Alright, 1 piece left. Alright, so we have our front exterior, our 2 pieces for our back exterior. We have the front of our flap, the exterior of the flap, the interior of the flap. We have 1 of our pocket lining pieces to interface. We have, for the way I make it, you don't have to put this on, our strap and the connector, our 2 lining pieces, our 2 foam pieces, and our other pocket lining piece. So that's all the stuff you need to cut out for this. I'm going to fuse all of this and then be back to sew it. Okay, so I have all of my interfaced pieces. And I went through and trimmed off any like extra interfacing that was on it. I grabbed my elastic too. I've been using this elastic. It does have like a texture to it, so you could find an elastic that's flat, but this has been working well for me. As I throw it. Okay, so that was the only thing I didn't have. Oh, and I also grabbed my zipper pull. My lining pocket piece that I didn't interface, I ironed it down about 1/2 inch. This isn't in the pattern, I don't think. I looked through it again, but I do my pocket a certain way. It's the same way I do it for the Heidi from Swoon, and it's been working really well for me, so I'm going to stick with that. Going to do the magnet and nameplate first. So I'm going to need my template pieces, pattern pieces for the main body and the flap. Okay, and then we're going to need, well, if you're putting a nameplate on, you need both flap pieces, and then for the snaps or magnets, you're also going to need your front exterior piece. So let's do that first. I'm going to flip it to the back, line up my pattern piece, and where the magnet marks are, I'm just going to make dots. So that's for that one. And then the lining flap piece, I'm going to line that up and make my dots for my magnet. And then we're done with the template pieces. What you need to do now is install your magnets. You can use the kind that come for the press, with like the rivet. They call them rivet magnets. Can't remember what they're called. I think I bought some. I have not tried them yet though. I actually think they're thinner than these ones, so I probably should try them. I also like to grab some scraps for this piece, but with the Decaville, I leave that one as is. I think it's fine. Hi, Donut. Alright. Trying not to cut myself. There we go. Sometimes when I cut these pieces too small, they're really hard to cut. I try to keep my blade in one spot too and move the material to reduce the risk of cutting myself, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to move it towards my finger. I like to put the female snap parts on the body of the bag and the male on the flap. But it really doesn't matter as long as you put both, like, of one kind on the same piece. I guess technically you could do them differently, but as long as they match up, but it would probably look kind of weird. Come on. I don't normally struggle with magnets. Not like this. I'm about to say no to the Pultex. What is going on? Things like this only happen when you're recording. I'm just using this to help push this down to save my fingers. If you really care about your ruler, you might not want to do this. It does scratch it a little. It's been fine. I guess I could use the side that doesn't have the numbers on it, so I don't scratch numbers. But it works. Okay, now I need to put my nameplate on the flap. And I just kind of put it on here. I used to put the markings for the magnets on and line it up to that, but honestly, it really does not matter. You can put your nameplate wherever you want. well, let's see. Where was the mark? There it is. Oh. This blade I have a hard time controlling. Alright, so now I am going to sew my flap together. So I'm going to put right sides together and clip it together. And you'll want to follow the seam allowances that are given in the pattern. So we're sewing around these sides, we're not sewing the top. You want to take your time on the curve. And you do have the bumps from the magnets, so make sure everything is sitting nicely. I like to take pinking shears and go around the curves. Sorry, I didn't want to have it all over my table. So I just use pinking shears here. And then I'm going to turn the flap right side out. Make sure that the corners are pushed out really well. I like to take something like hemostats or whatever tool you prefer to use. And make sure that everything is sitting nicely. I had some clips on for a minute, and then I like to give this a tug right here. And then I'm going to take this to my ironing board, and I'm going to iron this flat. Okay, I went ahead and pressed my flap, and now we're going to top stitch it. I like to baste the open edges together as I do that. I think I need to oil my pedal. Or maybe it's my machine. Oh no. I just oiled the pieces. I think it might be my belt. Uh-oh. I'll have to look into that. Alright, so your flap is done. Looks good. The next thing I'm gonna do, and I do apologize, I work like weird. At least I think so. I kind of move around. So what I'm gonna do for the lining is I take my waterproof canvas pieces or whatever you've used for the lining, and I put them right sides together, and I line them up, and I clip them together some. Then I take a piece of the foam and I line that up and I move the clips on it. Seriously, this might be weird. It is what it is. I'm weird. It works for me though, and it's less basting. And then I take the other piece and I put it on the back. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the side to here, leave an opening, because that's where we're going to end up turning the bag. Sew and sew. And I don't have to, I only have to sew this together one time. What I like to do now is I trim down my foam. So I'm not going to trim the waterproof canvas, but I'm just going to go along the seams and trim this foam down. Now we've gotten all that bulk out of our seam allowances. We're going to box the corners. And I butterfly the seams open when I do this. You can clip it in place, but you have to take the clip off right away, so I don't. Unless I'm making a bunch of them. Same thing with this side. And then your lining is ready for you later. Now we'll move on to the back exterior piece. And we're going to need our zipper, our elastic, both of the pocket lining pieces, and both of the exterior pieces. I'm going to go ahead and get my zipper ready. And I'm just going to measure it to be longer than the piece. You could also cut it to what the pattern tells you to cut it to. Alright, so I'm going to put these together and see. Okay, these do not line up that way. That was weird. They line up this way. So I'm going to fold this down like this so I know where my piece is, and I'm going to mark a 1/2 inch line. I'm also going to mark an inch in from each end. And I'm going to clip this. If you haven't done, I guess it's called like a hidden zipper pocket or something. I can't remember what it's called. If this is the first time you've done this, take it slow. Follow the pattern step by step. I'm going to turn my stitch length down to a 3. That's what I'm doing for this machine. So we're going to sew down this line. And we're going to start and we're going to back stitch. And then we're going to back stitch to this line. And then we're going to crank our stitch length up to like a 5 or 6. Until we get to that line again. And when we get there, we're going to turn it back to a 3, back stitch at the end. So you should have real close stitches on the ends and then like a basting stitch down here. I'm going to take this to my iron and I'm going to iron it completely open. Okay, so I have this ironed open and then the back is ironed flat. Okay, we need to, probably should have done this first, sorry. We need to put our elastic on our pocket lining piece. So we need pins for this. At least I recommend it. You're going to measure down. I like doing 1.5 inches down. And you're going to line up your elastic. And this is slightly difficult, at least for me, to keep in place. But I'm going to make sure that this is in place with some actual pins. I hate using actual pins. It's worth it though. I'm going to put my stitch length back, and then we're going to stitch down the bottom. And you just want to make sure you keep that straight. And you don't want to stretch the elastic. You want it to set nice and flat. Okay, done with the pins. It wasn't too bad, but... Okay, so now what we need to do to make our slots for the cards is the pattern tells you to go to the center and make a mark and then measure an inch, like inches out. I just put my ruler down and mark every inch. And I just make a little mark at the bottom. If you're using white elastic, I'll let my pen dry out again. If you're using white elastic, it shows better. Alright, I'm gonna have to take these and just keep my ruler with it. It's fine. But every inch you're going to sew a line and you're going to backstitch at the start and the stop. What I like to do is I just drag it over and then I'll cut my jump stitches when I'm done. And you definitely want to make sure you do the sizing right or you won't be able to fit geams in the pockets and that will defeat the point. Don't use any sort of tape or spray adhesive either. You do not want that on the games. And I know this is hard to see because it's black on black. I apologize. One more. Alright, so cat just jumped from the ceiling. Like I said, what I do is I take and I trim my jump stitches. And then on the back, I don't trim anything. Hello, Donut. Hi, bud. All right, and then you've got your little cartridge slots. All right, the pocket part is not easy, but you've got this. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my zipper and line it up along the seam that we sewed. And I'm going to take my pull and get it all the way to the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the center of my zipper up with the seam. And then I'm going to make sure it's in the right spot all the way down. And clip it in place. You really want to make sure this doesn't shift. So when you sew this, you really want to go slow and feel for the zipper so that it does not move. Okay. Now we're going to take the lining piece that is not interfaced and we're going to line it up at the bottom because we're going to be sewing the bottom of the zipper first. The reason I folded this down like this is because I find that doing it this way is easier than having it up and folding it back down. You just want to make sure you catch this and that is not like in your zipper. So lining it up is a big deal. You could use tape here if you want. That would probably help a lot. I don't like using a lot of tape though. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip this over and see that's, you just have to make sure everything stays lined up. We're gonna flip this over and we're gonna start stitching. Sorry. This side needs moved a little bit. Okay, we're gonna stitch from here to here, like a top stitch along the zipper, but I like keeping the edge of my foot on this, so it's kind of like 1/4 of an inch, but I'm gonna feel as I go for the zipper because I want to make sure it stays on the seam. And you can kind of check and make sure everything is staying lined up. And then we're gonna check. Looks awesome. So we have this down, but it's not in the zipper. That was good. I'm gonna take my clips off the top. And now you can do this part 2 different ways. You can undo your basting stitch completely right now, but I don't do that. I'll show you what I do. I go through and I cut every couple stitches to get it started, because it's hard to unpick once you've already sewn everything. But I found if I do this, it'll hold it in place and it makes my zipper look nicer. But you do need to undo enough stitches right here to get your zipper pull in there, to keep that in place. So got it in there just enough. And then we're going to take that interfaced lining piece with the cartridge slots, and we're going to line it up. And I like to line it up to the top of the zipper. And then I just clip that on the sides so that it's lined up. And we are starting up here, so I will hold my zipper tape over since it's split. And starting this side is a little bit difficult because of the zipper pull. But I'm just going to make sure that I have the zipper tape all the way over. And then you can kind of, I'll have to move my zipper pull a little bit more. But you can go in and snip it. Once you can move the pull, you're pretty much golden. Then I like to baste my sides. And now we need, well, you should make sure you caught everything. Now we need to get that zipper opened. So like I said, I went through and I snipped every couple stitches, and this is just gonna come apart. You might have to help it a little bit. But see how that held it together? It really helps, I've found, at least for me, it helps keep that together. And it makes all of this stitching look a lot better, I think. And then you'll have on this side like a big loop, and the thread's just back there in one piece. So just kind of pull it and trim it, or a couple pieces. Awesome. So you can still see the zipper a little in there, but it's pretty much hidden. Okay, I'm gonna move my zipper pull here. So now we have our exterior pieces, our flap, our lining. I'm going to do my strap and my connector now. And then once that's done, it is just final assembly. So if you're doing a 1/2 inch wide strap, you've got your 2-inch wide piece, and then on the D-ring connector, you're just going to fold into the center. And for either of these, you can use double-sided tape if you'd like. I'm only going to do it on the D-ring connector. I'm just folding to the centers, and then I'll fold it over again. Alright, I'm going to sew on both sides of both of these. You wouldn't really have to sew the connector if you just folded it over too. Alright, put the D-ring in there, add a clip to it, and then you could rivet this if you wanted. I'm just gonna sew it. You could also use a pre-made strap. I like getting them from Mormino. Been buying those a lot lately instead of making straps. It is a lot of layers for this part, so if you don't have an industrial, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Alright, all of our main pieces are done. I almost forgot to put the D-ring connector on here, so I'm glad I stopped myself and did that before I put these together. So we're going to put our exterior pieces right sides together, and we're going to clip them in place, lining everything up. And we'll trim all this extra stuff off in a minute. Alright, I'm going to go down the sides first, and then I'll line up the bottom. And when you get to that connector, if you've added it, just be careful. It is a big bump. Alright, and then I'm just going to hold these together. You know what? I have to trim this because knowing myself, I'll mess up my seam allowance. Alright, so at least just trim the bottom. Alright, so now we'll trim the sides and those little corners. It is a lot of layers, sorry. These scissors, I've been using them on not fabric things, and now they're not happy. Alright, we're going to box the corners. So you do have multiple layers on this one side. So it is a little bit uneven. So just be careful with that. I probably could have cut some of the bulk off too. You can do that at your discretion. Okay, so here is our exterior main part, our lining part, and our flap. So now we're going to put everything together. I remember what I did before. I left this part open and I put the flap into it, and it worked really well. But you're going to take and line up the exterior to the exterior. Kind of have to but you need the flap to be on this first. I've also basted it on before this part. Whatever works best. Right, I'm gonna make sure it's centered. You could also snip your centers, but I eyeball this. And it's not centered. Okay, I do suggest basting this on. And then make sure you've got it on there. Alright, now you need to flip your lining. And put it inside of this, which it does get a little difficult. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot going on in here with that flap. And you're gonna line everything up and clip it all together. Again, there's a lot in there. I probably should have basted my foam at the top. I'm using a lot of clips. Once you have everything lined up, you're going to sew all the way around. You'll want to make sure that you caught everything, and then you can flip it right side out. Okay. It's especially helpful to have trimmed the foam down right here out of the seam allowance so that when you go to close this, you don't have the foam folded over. Alright, make sure your flap's out of the way. I'm going to put a little label in. It says, gotta stitch them all. The last thing to do now is put the lining inside of the exterior. And then once that is in there real nice, we will top stitch and we're done. Okay. I'm just putting a couple of clips on it so that I have everything in place. Oh, this is awesome. Okay, I like to start my top stitch kind of like in the back corner. If you've got a dangly zipper pull like I do, make sure it's not gonna get stitched. Pro tip. Sometimes I like to trim my initial threads off before I get there so that they don't get caught in the stitching. there you have it. Put the little wrist strap on. So you've got your zipper with your little cartridge slots. So I really like this because it's not super challenging, but it has just enough to it that it makes you feel really good when it's done. Love it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. Let me know if you make one. Have a great day. Thanks so much.